So we have met Nick, and the next major character we meet in um, chapter 1 is Tom. So, page 7. He had changed since his New Haven years. He was now a straw haired man of 30, rather hard mouth and supercilious manner. Two shining, arrogant eyes established dominance over his face and gave him the appearance of always leaning aggressively forward. Not even the effeminate swank of his riding clothes could hide the enormous power of that body. He seemed to fill those glistening boots until he strained the top lacing, and you could see a great pack of muscle shifting when his shoulder moved under his thin coat. It was a body capable of enormous leverage, a cruel body. I mean, think of the diction here that he's using to describe this. His two shining, arrogant eyes, dominance, aggressively, swank, power, straining, pack of muscle, and finally, enormous leverage, a cruel body. Tom is the figure of male power, right? He is the figure of pure wealth, right? This is the old money guy right here. Even in little riding clothes, he's mean, aggressively leaning forward. We find that out in chapter 2 too. Okay, then we get Daisy. How is Daisy first described? She is described in terms of her voice. What does he say here? Her her first statement. I'm paralyzed with happiness. I can imagine her with kind of a southern belle, southern drawl. She laughed again and said something as if she had said something very witty and held my hand for a moment, looking up into my face, promising that there was no one else in the world she so much wanted to see. That was the way she had. She hinted in a murmur that the surname of the balancing girl was Baker. I've heard it said that Daisy's murmur was only to make people lean toward her, an irrelevant criticism that made it no less charming. And down the page, I looked back at my cousin, who began to ask me questions in her low, thrilling voice, with the kind of voice that the ear follows up and down, as if each speech is an arrangement of notes that will never be played again. So she's described in terms of her voice. She has a siren's voice. She's calling out. Who's she calling out to? Well, I mean, here she's talking to Nick, but we can immediately infer she's calling out to someone else. I'll leave it up to you to think about who's the siren calling to. Think about the green light at the end of that dock that we already talked about. And then the third character, of course, is Jordan. Uh, I looked at Miss Baker, wondering what it was she got done. I enjoyed looking at her. She was a slender, small-breasted girl with an erect carriage, which she accentuated by throwing her body backward at the shoulders like a young cadet. Her gray, sun-stained eyes looked back at me with a polite, reciprocal curiosity out of the wan, charming, discontented face. It occurred to me now that I had seen her or a picture of her somewhere before. Okay, so now we've got Jordan Baker. Obviously, this is going to be Nick's love interest, right? There's a reciprocal curiosity. He describes her in terms of her sexual appearance, right? I mean, he is he is communicating already that there's something going on between he and her, although he doesn't come right out and say it. So we have those three characters. A couple lines down, she immediately introduces the next character, Gatsby. You live in West Egg, she remarked contemptuously. I know somebody there. I don't know a single. You must know Gatsby. Gatsby, demanded Daisy. What Gatsby? Get Gatsby's name 3 times. He's introduced as a character. And then the last major character that we get introduced here is, well, Tom's mistress, right? She calls in the middle of the dinner that they're having, and well, this what does he say? Something happening? I acquired innocently. Top of page 15. You mean to say that you don't know? Said Miss Baker, honestly surprised. I thought everyone knew. I don't. Why? Tom's got some woman in New York. Got some woman, I repeated blankly. Miss Baker nodded. She might have the decency not to telephone him at dinner time, don't you think? So there we go. Now we've got Myrtle. All the characters are here.